have like a bunch of like in tempos too. What's the ExecVision thing? I'll be right back.
Actually, yeah, I'm going to the bathroom.
Some water and I make sure. Yeah, no, okay.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for jumping on this Zoom link. We appreciate you guys being flexible here. We had no idea we could not run 2 webinars simultaneously. So we're going to give everyone just a few more minutes here to jump on the Zoom link and join us for our best practice session. So once you guys do enter, I am going to mute you guys so there's not a lot of background noise, and we'll get started here at probably 1:10. Hi, everybody, and welcome to our Call Coaching Best Practice webinar. Today, we will be talking through creating coaching plans and coaching best practices. Again, for those who did just join, we appreciate you guys being flexible here. We had no idea you could not run 2 webinars simultaneously, so luckily we were able to pull together a Zoom link for this. Today with us, I do have Rachel Moffitt, who is one of the SDR managers at Vorsight. So I will let her go ahead and say hello.
Hi, guys.
So for today, I do have a PowerPoint for us to go through. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and then we'll go ahead and get started. If you guys do have any questions throughout this webinar, feel free to just chat it. You can either do it privately or for everyone to see, and we can address your questions that way. Give me 1 second here, and I will go ahead and get this started. Awesome. So again, thank you for joining our webinar. My name is Emma Haig. I am one of the customer success managers here at ExecVision. I started out as an SDR at Vorsight. Rachel was actually my first manager, so I learned quite a bit from her, and now we're working together. I have helped sales and customer success teams develop unique coaching plans for each of their team members. And with 2019 right around the corner, we wanted to provide you guys with the resources to start the year off strong and on the right foot with productive coaching sessions. So again, joining us today is Rachel Moffitt, and so I will let her introduce herself next.
Hi, guys. So as Emma said, I am a sales development manager at Vorsight. I've been in the role for about 1.5 years now, but I've been at Vorsight for almost 3. And my main job is to coach. That's what I spend the vast majority of my time on. I also actually couldn't imagine doing my job without ExecVision. So thanks so much for having me to talk about coaching and how much of an impact it can make on your team.
So for today's agenda, we are going to talk through common coaching programs, how to implement coaching programs, and how to find the time in your busy schedules to actually coach calls. So the first thing we're going to do here is define coaching. So coaching is an interactive process that helps individuals and organizations to develop more rapidly and produce more satisfying results. I'm sure you guys would all love an entire team of top performers across your organizations that also improve others' abilities to set goals, take action, make better decisions, and make full use of their natural strengths. So there's 2 common coaching programs that we're going to talk through today. The first is asynchronous and synchronous. So synchronous coaching is coaching a person that includes verbal feedback in real time with a manager or peer listening to calls as it happens. These sessions are usually pre-scheduled, reoccurring, ad hoc, and on-the-fly coaching. So think of this as your current one-on-one processes. You guys usually have something scheduled on your calendar that's reoccurring, where you sit down and actually review performance with your reps. So when we break that down, that's going to look like an in-person, real-time, pre-scheduled, reoccurring meetings. Rachel, can you maybe talk to us about an example of a synchronous call coaching session that you have with your reps?
Yeah, absolutely. I make it a priority, especially when reps are say changing clients, or maybe for most of you changing or you add a new product line, something like that, or they're a new rep. I want to spend as much time doing synchronous coaching sessions as possible so that they feel like the presence of their coach supporting them. You want to be there in real time as they're doing the job, and then also reviewing the calls with them to provide them with the most support. So I'm focusing most of my synchronous coaching hours on people who are experiencing a lot of change or are new.
Awesome. Asynchronous coaching is going to be virtual using a written or recorded feedback. And feedback is usually given after the fact based on the call or session. And this usually takes place on demand without the constraints of a schedule. And it's usually generally easier to repeat this and actually scale it for growing teams. So as you guys can imagine, ExecVision is an asynchronous coaching tool. It's super easy in the platform for reps to just send you calls one-off when they have coaching for you to get to when you have time, for them to ask questions to their peers. Asynchronous coaching, again, just think of it on the fly. If you're running down the hall and a rep has a question, that could also be an asynchronous coaching moment. Rachel, would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely.
So the next thing here is implementing coaching programs. We know that coaching is important. There's so many studies that show that coaching helps drive the bottom line of a business. But how do we as a management team, as a leader in your company, make this a top priority? And this is what a lot of you mentioned as being a challenge for you guys, is actually implementing it and putting it pen to paper and just doing it. So, you know, when you make coaching a priority, it's really important to have 3 requirements set at an organizational level. So we need to make sure that there is management buy-in in the value behind coaching and sales improvement. These changes need to come from the top down, as well as from reps asking for it. So as an organization, everyone needs to be bought in to the idea of call coaching, call review, and rep improvement. The second requirement in terms of implementing coaching programs is you need to be able to easily access all of the calls that your reps are making every single day. That's where ExecVision comes into play here. You can easily go into the platform, find calls that need to be reviewed by reps requesting feedback. You can also use the advanced search filters in the platform to narrow down to very specific call types as well. The third requirement for implementing coaching programs is for coaching to stick in your organization. You guys need to have that culture of collaboration and accountability. We can say, you know, time after time, we're going to do this, but until we actually decide as an organization from the top down that this is a priority, none of this stuff that we're going to talk through is going to stick. You guys need to make sure that if this is what you want to do, we stick to it and we make sure that everyone knows that this is how we're going to approach call coaching and call review moving forward. So the first important thing in implementing a coaching program, as you can imagine, is getting your reps to buy into this idea of improvement. I'm sure you guys can all agree there. The other thing that we want to talk through is the fact that, you know, it's a no-brainer that reps are more likely to accept the feedback and make adjustments when they conclude things for themselves. Rachel, I'm sure you've seen that, you know, pretty firsthand with your team, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. They're so much more effective. I see them actually making the changes when you can lead them to conclusions that they are making by themselves rather than you telling them what needs to change or improve. And they kind of agree, but they're also in their own world.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys have all been in the middle of a coaching session and it feels like you're just beating a dead horse at some point or another when you've said the same thing over and over again. But until the rep decides that that needs to change or that that is a weakness that they have, it's not going to make any sort of difference. We can also, you know, talk through and address the objection of what's in it for me from the reps. We need to make sure that whenever we introduce this process and this culture that we want to implement into our organizations, that we face this head on and let reps know that we're coaching their calls to improve them. Rachel, we talked yesterday about what you do with your new hires when they first start, first day. Can you kind of talk through what you set your expectations as their new manager when it comes to expectations and call review?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when you're managing a team of SDRs who may be coming in from a different background. This may have been their first sales job. Some people have had really negative experiences with any type of supervisor or manager. So when someone's joining your team and you want to set forth that you are a team that really values coaching, that really values improvement, and that that's what your main focus is, you have to establish that from the get-go. So anyone who joins my team, I kind of have a run through of this is what it's going to look like. This is what it means to be a part of Rachel's team. And I tell them, my only job is to make sure that you're successful. I have literally no other purpose at this company than making sure that you are good at your job. There's no ulterior motives behind the sessions that I'm putting on your schedule. I'm not trying to catch you in doing anything wrong. I was in your shoes and we all need help improving. And that's why I'm here, to make sure that you're successful, because, you know, my success is your success. If you're making money, the company's making money, we all are. There's no ulterior motive here. Anything that I'm doing is purely to make you better. And I think that's really important, to get your reps to come to sessions eager to learn and looking at them as an opportunity for growth rather than maybe a check-in or a chance to get caught in the act of doing something wrong.
Awesome. The other thing on this list of important things to know in terms of rep buy-in is making coaching plans that are extremely unique to each of your reps. Something is going to drive them. They have passions, they learn differently, and we want to make sure that we approach coaching with each rep in a way that's going to be effective in these coaching sessions. So for instance, if you have someone on your team that's really data-driven, that gets excited about metrics, that's driven by, goals, make sure that we're approaching coaching sessions with that individual when you come prepared with, these are your conversion rates, this is what you're doing, this is where we can be improving, as compared to maybe a rep on your team that's a little bit more laissez-faire, that would rather just have a natural conversation talking about wins and challenges that they might be experiencing that week. So again, just tailor your coaching sessions to the way that your reps are learning and the way that they are driven. That's going to really get the reps to buy into what you're trying to accomplish with them. The other things you can do to get rep buy-in is creating groundswell with some of your most influential reps or reps that are more tenured on the floor. Get them excited about these changes and get them excited about call review, so then they can help excite the rest of the floor and start talking about it in a positive light. Other things you can do are highlight wins publicly. A lot of our clients, and you guys might be doing this internally, is having a call of the week. Throughout the week, reps should be sending you an influx of really great calls or really good portions of calls that they've already highlighted. The best thing you can do is send that highlight out to the rest of the team, the rest of the organization, and say, hey, Shelby did really great on this objection. Everyone should check it out to hear what a great objection handling should sound like. And making sure that, the people that are doing really great get noticed by everyone. The other things you can do is in group call review sessions, or if that's something you want to implement, ask your reps to volunteer their calls and have them played out loud. I know as an SDR, and Rachel still does this with her team, on a monthly basis, she'll have one of her reps volunteer one of their best calls or a call that's relevant to a skill they're working on. And throughout the month, they'll search for that call throughout all of their conversations and will play it out loud. That rep has taken it upon themselves to find a call that matches the criteria. They're comfortable to play it out loud, and then they can have their peers give them that feedback as well as their manager. Anything else here, Rachel, that you would say is important to get reps to buy in to coaching plans?
I think one of the most important things that you already touched on is creating groundswell. When your reps see you give feedback to more tenured reps who have been incredibly successful, they're going to want those sessions. So make sure that they're really good use of time. Make sure you're coming prepared and that you're invested in making these people better. Because if you can make the most successful reps buy into your sessions, you're going to have new hires buying into your sessions, and that's just going to trickle down as you continue to bring in new start classes.
Other ways that you can create and implement coaching plans is by sending calendar invites, which sounds, a little silly. Of course, we can send calendar invites, but you guys would be surprised of how many managers we talk to that don't put reoccurring calendar invites on their calendars every week or every month. And blocking off specific times not only helps your reps know what's expected of them, but it also helps you actually dedicate time to coaching every single week. And one of the things that I tell all of my clients is that put down 2-hour-long sessions on your calendar and don't schedule over it. That should be your dedicated coaching time every single week. If it's Tuesday afternoons, every Tuesday afternoon, I need calls from my team to coach. And at that point, you can send your reps also reoccurring calendar invites to send you calls before your coaching sessions. So then you're not having to go dig through a bunch of call recordings to find coachable moments. Again, this is going to save you guys so much time if we can get reps bought into the idea of call review and call coaching. And as you guys know, coaching is the key to rep improvement. So when calendar invites are on your calendar, use that time for coaching. Any questions so far? I know we've covered a lot. Again, if you do have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to just put it in the chat and we'll go ahead and answer and address any questions. I did want to call attention to this expert tip here. Making scorecards mandatory and part of your coaching sessions, and by putting this in your calendar invite, you're going to know exactly which skills your reps are either struggling or excelling at. And again, it will save you time when it comes to coaching because you can coach those very key areas of the call, and we'll get into that in a bit. This is an example of Rachel's calendar. Rachel, I would love for you to kind of walk through the different invites that you have here. So this is an example of all of the different sessions that Rachel does in 1 week.
Yeah, so we've got a good mix here of synchronous and asynchronous coaching sessions. And they all serve their own purpose, but you really want to make sure that you have some that are reoccurring and that you're touching base with your reps on consistently, and then some that are going to change. So the way that we do coaching sessions here, every 2 weeks, we reevaluate based on conversion rates, based on occurrence rates, based on where SDRs are on the month. And then we all get together as a management team. We have kind of this big Google sheet and we mark down what sessions each person on our team needs, and then we send them out for 2 weeks. But you can see, like on Mondays, I have a lot of recurring sessions. Those weekly goal planning sessions, those are all metrics oriented. I take 15 minutes with every member of my team, and I'm going to work with them to figure out how many dials do they need to be making per week on each of their clients, how many prospects do they need to be adding, all of that good stuff. Then as we go on throughout the week, these are more of the sessions that we've put on the calendar as a result of occurrence rates and things that we need to improve on. So you can see their EV sessions, you can see their prospecting sessions, styles, all of this good stuff. But what's also really interesting, if you look at like Wednesday afternoon, for example, we're trying to create, obviously our culture is very centered around coaching. And because of that, we want to empower our reps to learn how to coach others as well. So you can see Rod plus Eva DL session at 4 o'clock on Wednesday. That's one of my most tenured team members coaching my youngest team member. I want him, or my least tenured team member, I want him helping as well to encourage him to learn what it's like to coach and to create an environment where we're all goaled towards getting people to their most successful selves, to reaching their maximum potential. So what's most important is having a mix of those reoccurring ones and then being able to adjust otherwise. But really, you should be spending the majority of your time as a manager coaching and spending time committing yourself to getting your people better, blocking off time to listen to calls in addition to sitting with them. You just need to have a mix. I mean, that's an age-old saying that everything in moderation.
Perfect. So the next part of this implementing a coaching plan that we want to talk through is who to coach. You guys, if your schedules look like anything like Rachel's, there's not a lot of time for just ad hoc random things to pop up. So we want to make sure that you guys are coaching the right people. So if we look here, these two graphs are showing you that you have your group of reps. We have our low performers here and our top performers over here. It's great to coach them. You should, check in with your top performers, helping support those extra skills like management skills. Your low performers, the odds of them actually improving, pretty slim. And this research is coming from CEB. The top 60% here is where we should be focusing our coaching. These are the players on your team that can improve. And this is where, you can make the difference in the skill sets that they have. You can encourage them to get better and drive that will to learn. This then focuses into our skill versus will matrix. I know a lot of you have gone over this with your customer success manager. If you haven't, we're going to start doing this with all of our accounts, but this is how you can plot out which reps you should focus on and where they fit into this diagram. So when we break this down, the train them section here is going to be that middle 60%. This is where you should be focusing the majority of your time in terms of coaching. The promote them. This is the people that have the high skill as well as the high desire to learn. These are the people that are going to be more tenured. They have the skills that we want to replicate, and they should be working with other reps to kind of develop those management skills or the skills that will lead them on to their next promotion. The challenge or isolate them box. I'm sure you all have at least one rep on your team who you don't know how they're good. You don't know how they hit their numbers every month, but somehow they do it. Their skills are not replicable, but they have skills. And they don't have the desire to change anything, right? Because they're making their numbers, they're hitting your commission. These are the reps that we should isolate, spend a little bit of your time coaching them, but really let them do their thing because it's working for them. And again, you have other people on your team that you could focus training on. This last box here, we're not suggesting that you should just go fire, half of your team, but these are the people that you just shouldn't waste your time coaching. That's going to be your bottom performers. They don't have that skill set. They probably shouldn't be in sales anyways, and they don't have any desire to get better. These are the people that, again, you just shouldn't waste your time on. You should focus on the people that have this higher desire to get better and to be the best reps that they can be. Rachel, anything you want to add here in terms of who to coach? Do you have any reps that meet these, different definitions of a story that you could tell us?
Yeah, of course. So when we do this exercise, a lot of times we think about desire and will as coachability, like how receptive are they to feedback? So when we go back to that exercise that I was talking about where we fill out kind of a big spreadsheet of all of the things that we need to coach on, and say there are just too many hours on there. Say we have a really high number of SDRs and maybe a member of management is out for the week and there's just too much stuff for us to get done. We will redo this exercise. We try to do it once every month or so, and then organize our coaching hours based off of where everyone lands in this box. So if I have too much on my plate, I'm going to get all of the hours in for the people who are in the train them box. And then I'm going to move to the promote them box. And then I'm going to move to the people in the challenge or isolate them box. And then lastly, the fire them box. Because you want to make sure that you are giving enough time and prioritizing those people who are coachable and have the potential to be a top performer. And if someone is openly rejecting your feedback, of course you want to try several times before you give up on them and move them to that last box. But you also need to make sure that you're spending time where your hard work is going to be put to use. And sometimes, you just have to organize your coaching hours to reflect that.
Yeah, absolutely. We want coaching to be efficient and effective, and training the people that want to be trained is how you meet that goal. The other thing we can do in terms of implementing coaching plans is focus our coaching on specific skills. One of the things that you're going to start seeing in ExecVision pretty shortly are management dashboards that actually break down the specific skills based on strengths and weaknesses by your reps. And that information is being pulled directly from those scorecards that your reps and yourselves are filling out every single week. So ExecVision will then tell you, okay, Ben here, he's really great at his common challenge, but he's really struggling in terms of closing next steps. So as a manager, I need to focus on that area because I know he needs to improve there. The other way that you can focus your coaching sessions is as a management team, as a leadership team at your organization, you guys should all be defining what good and best practices look like for your teams. Break down your calls and figure out, okay, this is exactly what an intro needs to sound like at our organization, and so on and so forth with those different call segments. And coach to that. If as an organization, you can all improve on your intros, that first 30 seconds of the conversation, start to coach your reps on that because it's going to improve not only your rep, but the rest of your team. The other way to focus coaching here is focus on 1 to 2 topics per coaching session. If you just start throwing, 10, 15 improvements that a rep can make, odds are they're probably not going to remember any of those improvements. And Rachel, I'm pretty sure I've done this as an SDR on your team. I would usually just absorb one thing that was said to me and try to focus on that. And again, it goes back to the first point we made. Reps are not going to take any of that feedback that you're giving them unless they've already accepted that it's something that they need to change on their own. So when you focus on those 1 to 2 topics, odds are one of those things is probably something they've already realized on their own. Therefore, they're going to be much more likely to actually take your advice. The other thing that we can do in terms of focus coaching is keep your coaching sessions interesting and upbeat. Most coaching sessions usually last about 30 minutes to an hour. We don't want that to just be super negative, where you're discussing things that could be done over an email, or we want to make sure that coaching sessions are exciting, the reps are improving, they're again bought into what you're saying and what changes you want to make to help them improve. That leads us to leading with the positives in terms of feedback. I'm sure you guys are all familiar with the Oreo model. Say something positive, then a criticism, and then another positive at the end. Or you can also leverage the observe, describe, prescribe model, where you're, observing what's happening, describing to the rep exactly what you heard on the phone, and then prescribing what you would do differently. We have a great blog on our website about coaching with the observe, describe, prescribe model that we can send out afterwards in the webinar wrap-up. Because both of these things are really great tools when it comes to focusing in on exactly what should be coached per rep. So the last thing here that we want to talk through is creating the time to coach, because, it's hard. Your schedules are super jam-packed. And one of the things that people kept mentioning when they were sending us emails was they wanted to know, why is it hard to find time to coach? Why is it hard to, find the time to put all these sessions on our calendar? And it's because you guys are just busy. You have a lot on your plate. But like Rachel mentioned earlier today, your job is to improve your reps, as I'm sure lots of other things, but by improving your reps, you guys will be better as managers as well. So the first thing we talk through in terms of spending time is we should analyze exactly what you're doing every single day. Break down your day to see, okay, I'm spending 50% of my day coaching, 20% of it in managerial meetings, and so on. And start to analyze, is this an efficient use of my time? If I split up my coaching sessions to 2 periods over a week, would I get more done and would I accomplish more calls for my reps? The other thing you can do is have reps take an active part in their development. Again, that goes back to having them send calls to you every single week so you're not having to go dig for them. Have reps analyze their calls first so you can see which part of the call they need help on. Having reps actually coach one another and creating peer-to-peer models. Again, saving you time on your calendar for more important coaching sessions. The other way that you can kind of analyze where you're spending your time is by protecting those calendar invites that you've put on your calendar every week. Don't schedule over them. I know it's hard. I do it as well, but that is your dedicated coaching time, and that's what you should do if that's what you've put on your calendar. The other question you can ask yourself here are you consistent in sticking to your plans? Here at ExecVision and Foresight, our two key words are consistency and accountability. And if we're not being consistent, we're probably not being accountable either. If you say that you're going to coach something, coach it. If you're trying to improve a rep on a specific skill, do what you can to improve the rep on that specific skill, because that's what you said that you were going to do. The other ways that we can break down call coaching is what sessions are you having? Are you having one-on-one sessions with each of your reps? Is that something that you could put a top performer in charge of? I know internally, Rachel, we've created a coaching certification that helps break down one-on-ones. Can you kind of talk through why we decided to create a coaching certification?
Yeah, well, part of what we noticed is just we didn't have time to coach everyone that we wanted to, and we had a lot of people who were really helpful, who gave a lot of great one-off feedback, but we wanted to make sure that they were helping others in an organized manner. So we figured that the best place that they could help out the managers was coaching other reps' calls. So we broke down how to review a call into kind of what Emma was saying earlier about figuring out what are the one or two things that the rep wants to focus on in the call, starting off establishing a goal, then moving on and listening through to the call completely, then going back and evaluating, okay, was that the right thing that they wanted to improve? Then going through the call again, once you've aligned expectations on what the one or two things you need to improve is, and giving correct feedback that way. But really, it's just to have an extended arm of the management team. I mean, we have all of these very capable people surrounding us who have become really great top performers. That's what we want for them as managers. And then you also want people who want to move into those managerial positions. So create an extension of your team by creating something like a coaching certification so that they can help you as well. And it helps them feel like they're furthering their own development, which they are.
Awesome. Other ways that we can spend time effectively with teams are having weekly team meetings where we have a manager and a team sitting down and listening to a call together, breaking down a call that was, again, volunteered by one of your team members to create an environment where peers can give each other feedback, where you can discuss issues that everyone is running into on the phones, common objections that everyone's hearing, and break down a call together. And if doing that on a weekly basis is tough for you, do that on a monthly basis. We do this internally where every month we all come in one morning early, we get donuts or bagels, and we sit down, we break down a call together. We do a call of the month contest. I know a lot of you do the same thing, and we break down a call, we listen to it, talk through the objections, through the feedback that's been given. But the cool thing that what we do internally is we have our entire leadership team. So our CEO, our CRO, VP of sales, they're also listening to this call and leaving feedback because they're bought into the idea of coaching and rep improvement. So they want to take an active part in that as well. So that's something we do on a monthly basis. We have a lot of clients that also do it on a weekly basis. It's just whatever fits into your schedule and makes sense for your organization. This is a breakdown that Rachel has picked up from one of our customers, actually. So Rachel, can you kind of talk us through this breakdown of different ways to spend time with coaching per week?
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, as I was saying earlier, you want to make sure that you have a good variety in your coaching plan. So you want to spend different amounts of time live coaching and then asynchronously coaching, so reflecting back on calls, all of that good stuff. So if you just look here, you want to have individual one-on-one time, breaking down metrics, discussing performance, maybe not specifically examining any calls or any one particular instance that a rep experienced, but you want to be looking at them holistically, 6 to 12 hours per week. Then role plays and coaching, that's more of that live, either sitting at their desk or doing mock calls with them. You want 6 to 10 hours per week. Then in the same vein, you want 6 to 10 hours per week retroactively examining the calls. So, all right, let's do a really targeted focus here, and let's pick calls around skills that you want to improve. Say it's objection handling, or say it's your intro. We're going to spend that same amount of time that we were spending live reviewing calls as well. Then you as a manager need to be self-developing. That can really go to the wayside. I know this is like the number one thing to go for myself. But whenever I actually stick to my 1 hour and do it, today I was actually reading up on the millennial workforce, which is ironic because I'm part of the millennial workforce, but it was really, really enlightening to me to read about how millennials take feedback the best, and it's going to help me in my future coaching sessions understand how to communicate that message better. So don't neglect that. And then meetings, metrics review, hiring. I feel like this is where most managers get caught in a lot of time. If you haven't read Death by Meeting by Patrick, I think it's Leoncies, maybe his last name. It's a great book. It breaks down all the different types of meetings you could have, and are you just overworking your schedule because you're in too many meetings? Most people, the answer is yes. Commit to a culture of coaching, commit to making that your biggest time commitment, and figure out how to get yourself out of all of those meetings and spend only 10 to 15 hours per week in them. And then performance, attendance, timekeeping. A lot of this is HR type of stuff, just making sure that you're dotting your I's and crossing your T's 1 to 2 hours per week.
Perfect. And, this is not a perfect formula. We welcome your feedback on what you guys are doing every week. And I encourage you to actually sit down with your calendar and figure out where you're spending time. And if you have questions of how ExecVision or best practices on fitting coaching into your workflow, reach out to your account manager, because that's what we're here for, helping you guys find time in your schedules to coach and making it as efficient as possible. And for managers, coaching is all about replicating your top performers. Like I said earlier, in a perfect world, every single one of your reps would be a top performer, closing deals, hitting quota. But unfortunately, that's just not how the world works just yet. But with call coaching and implementing a coaching program like one of the ones we talked through today, is going to help get reps closer to top performers. And the goal is to create coaching plans that make call coaching easier and more efficient for you. Like Rachel said, protect your coaching time, because again, that's just going to help keep reps consistent. All right, so at this point, we are about out of time. I know we went over, so thank you guys for hanging on with us. But if there are any questions, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask away, or if you have questions that you want to talk through with your account manager, please feel free to send them an email as well. All right, so it doesn't look like anyone has any questions, so feel free to shoot one over to your account manager afterwards. But thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. We really appreciate it and hope that you learned something. So have a great rest of your week and a great rest of Q4. Bye-bye, guys.